Back here on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert with you. Jam-packed Thursday edition. We're keeping an eye on the Diamondbacks, who trail in the eighth inning right now. Something to monitor. Josh Naylor left this game. Diamondbacks were losing, but they were within striking distance when he did leave, and it looked like he was dealing with something throughout the course of the game. So we'll keep an eye on that, as it looks like the Diamondbacks will drop the finale of this series to fall to 30-32. But a successful trip to Atlanta, where they will take 2 out of 3. Looked good last night, looked good the night prior, got the starting pitching over the last 2 nights, did not get the starting pitching today from Brandon Pfaadt, who we said earlier this week, not super concerned about what we saw on Saturday, that it was just a blip. Doesn't necessarily feel like it is just a blip right now. Ball's getting hit extremely hard off of Brandon Pfaadt, and when it gets hit hard, it's going a long way. And for the second straight outing, it was not a good day at the office for Brandon Pfaadt. So we'll keep an eye on that. One of the questions that we have been kicking around in the morning meeting is this topic of being a buyer or seller at the trade deadline in regards to the Arizona Diamondbacks. And truthfully, in sports, and in baseball in particular, the worst place you can be is the in-between. You want to definitively be a buyer. You want to definitively be a seller. You want it easy to know what camp you fall into. Because if you're a tweener, it just makes things really complicated, because you're guessing a lot of the time on what you think your team's going to be. You're guessing on what you think your actual needs are as a team. And they're educated guesses, but I'd rather have some known quantities. The Colorado Rockies, they know. They are sellers at the deadline. The Dodgers, the Mets, the Cubs, those teams know they are buyers at the trade deadline. The Diamondbacks right now find themselves, at least here as June begins, kind of in the middle. 30-32, if they are to hold on and lose this game, has them 4 games out of a wild card spot in the National League. So where do they need to sit at the end of this month to be away from the sellers conversation? And so we did the math, and they have 22 games remaining in this month after today. And here's who they will play in those 22 games. They will play 3 at Cincinnati. They will play 3 against the Mariners, 3 against the Padres, 3 at the Blue Jays, 3 at the Rockies, 3 at the White Sox, 3 at home against the Marlins, and they'll finish with 1 game in June. It kicks off a 4-game series with the Giants. One of those games will take place in June. That is 22 games in which 12 of those 22 take place against teams below 500 right now. 3 against Cincinnati, 3 against Colorado, 3 against Chicago, 3 against Miami. 12 of the 22, more than half, are against teams below 500. 9 of the 22 are against teams that are in last place in their division. And they play them back to back to back. At Colorado, at Chicago, home against Miami. So a favorable chunk of the calendar for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So where do they need to be? How many wins do they need to stack up? What does this need to look like when we get to the end of June? Is it a certain number of wins, or is it a certain distance back of the wild card race? What's going to make you feel better? Is this a vibes thing? Do you just need to feel differently about the team? They sit 3.5 games back right now. How about this? How about we go to the ultimate extremes, producer Evan? What if this team went 22-0 during this stretch and they didn't gain a single game in the standings? Just go with me for a second. They won all the games. They didn't gain a single game in the standings. They 3.5, 4 games back of a wild card spot. You would feel better about the team. You would feel better about the direction that they're going in. You would say, yeah, this team needs to be a buyer. They've won 22 games in a row, but you're not any better in the standings. So what does it have to look like? Because the other end of the spectrum is also true. They can play absolutely terribly in this 22-game stretch, but so can everybody else around them in the National League, to where they still sit 3.5 games back of a playoff spot. So what does this need to look like? You went bold in the morning meeting. You said, I need 14-8. I need you to win 14 games in this stretch. Now, that's the path you chose. You said, I need you to win a certain number of games to make me feel better. By the way, they had a stretch where they won 14 out of 22. we cheated a little bit. It was 23. They went 14-9 to start the year. So you need this team to look more like the team they were at the start of the season. Plausible.
And by the way, the record is just a number. It's how they look in these games. Are they playing with heart? Do I feel like they're turning a corner in the bullpen and be able to get, big outs towards the end of the game? How are the teams around them playing? Have they gained any ground? I think 14-8, though, realistically, if they lose today, you go 14-8 over these 22 games. That puts you 4 games over 500 by the time you get to July. I think that keeps you in the mix. And the number we had circled at the year was 89 wins. Does 89 wins get you in? It's kind of the marker. 89 to 90 wins.
That's going to be right on the line, I think. It's going to be that 89 is going to be potentially you're out, potentially you're in. I think that's how razor thin it's going to be. John over on YouTube says they've got to go 6-3 against those last place teams, Colorado, Chicago, and Miami. I'll do you one better. I think 7-2 is what they have to do against those teams. I think bare minimum 7-2 is the only acceptable mark there.
I think you need a sweep in those three
at
series.
least one sweep. I think maybe 2. I'll give you 1 mulligan. Like, those are the 3 worst teams in baseball. The Chicago White Sox and the Colorado Rockies are the 2 worst teams in baseball. The Marlins are not far behind.
And you've gotten away with not getting a sweep of all these teams you should have swept. You lost a series to Pittsburgh.
So you have to make it up
somewhere. You lost a
somewhere.
Series to Washington twice.
You have to make those games up somewhere, and this is where it is on the calendar. So I'm with you. You put 14 on it. I won't go with a specific number. Here's where I'll tell you. This team has to be playing better baseball. I need to see them go 7-2 in that stretch against Colorado, Chicago, and Miami. And I need them to be no worse off in the standings than they are right now. If they drop games and they don't look good in that stretch, it's sell time, baby. If they play well, they play better, and they've gained ground, they're still right on the outside looking in, I'm in buy mode. Let's try to support this squad. Let's try to get them that missing piece. Maybe we get a starter at the deadline. We add a reliever to help our lagging bullpen. We do those little things to try to push us over the top. It's all going to depend, but this is a soft schedule. Your next 3 up. You continue this road trip. Another team below 500. A team that's behind you in the standings. Go out there and take care of business.
Chris, let me tell you this.
Sure.
Let's say right now they're 3.5 games out of a wild card. Let's say they get to 3. And even 3 by July 1st. You're in buy mode?
You're not in sell mode.
That's 3's a number where it's almost hold tight, but you almost can't do that with where they're at because you have Gallen, who's a free agent. You have Kelly, who's a free agent. You have Naylor, who's a free agent. It's buy or sell.
It doesn't always have to be, and here's why. With Naylor and Gallen, you can get a comp pick for them if you give them the qualifying offer. So you're not going to lose them for nothing. Kelly, you would lose for nothing, right? No doubt. But Gallen and Naylor, you tack the qualifying offer on them, and if they accepted it and they came back on 1-year deals, I think you'd be pretty happy. If they don't, you're getting a comp pick back. So you're not going to lose them for nothing. It's not probably going to be as much as you could get in a trade, but you're not going to lose them for nothing. You're going to get a compensatory pick for them. This is the important thing. You get to July 1 and you are within 3 games. You've moved a little bit or you stay exactly where you're at and you're playing some better baseball. You can take this up to July 31st. You can see out the month. You don't have to get ahead of it. You can see, do we have a great series and another team, the Padres, the Giants, the Braves have a bad series and then we move up a little bit in the standings. You can play it by ear in the month of July. You have to have a good month of June to set that up.